This video is going to be about rape, and it's going to present a view that you've probably never heard of. I've never heard anyone say it before. I'm going to tell you some opinions I have about rape, and I'm going to specifically talk about men raping women. When I was in college, I had a girlfriend, and one day she came into my room crying, and I was like, "What's wrong?" She wouldn't tell me. And from that point onward, our relationship changed, in part because I thought she was a crazy person. I'm like, you come into my room crying and you won't tell me, did I do something? You're crazy. There's something crazy about you. Why are you coming in here crying at me? And she was just crazy. And eventually she told me what was wrong. What had happened was somebody on campus, a woman, was in the computer science building where I spent a lot of my time at night. She went into the woman's bathroom, which was right next to the men's bathroom. The lights were out. There was an Asian man in the dark in the woman's bathroom. I'm guessing that what happened was she turned the light on and saw the man. Beyond that, there was no more information. It did not say that she was assaulted or anything like that. It just said that this was an incident that happened. So I may have heard about this and known about this, but what happened was some women took it upon themselves to make a voicemail that they would leave on the answering machines of other women on campus, where they were frantically yelling about how there's an epidemic of rape on campus and you have to watch out, everyone's going to rape you, prepare to get raped, etc., 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 as an immediate result of this incident, where in fact there was no statement that any touching even occurred or rape or anything spoken or anything like that. And she played this message for me, and there was a feature, and the voice message says, forward this to all your friends. And of course they were only forwarding it to girls. So the girls on campus went into a panic. And I was like, first of all, the guy didn't rape the girl. This is just not true. It didn't happen. There was not even an accusation. There's no information. Nothing happened. She just went there, saw this Chinese guy. The school put out a notice saying, don't go into a bathroom if the lights are out. Was what the school did. So my girlfriend, our relationship changed from that point onward because she was in fear every day. There's parts of campus that you walk through alone through the forest, because we were at the edge, not at the absolute edge, but we were more near the edge. We were not at the center of campus, our dorm. And I can imagine walking through there at night and things like that. So she started saying, you got to walk me. She worked for the security, so I had to walk with her to the building on the other side of the campus to turn in the logs for the people that showed up in the building and presented their ID. She worked at the front desk. And I had to walk with her across campus to do that every night. And back, of course. But our relationship had changed because she became a fearful person. She was panicky. She was concerned about rape all the time. And I was like, at the time, I was a college student, around 20 years old or something like that. Not the person that I am today. And my instinct was, you're crazy. You're just a crazy person. You're irrational, which she was irrational. That what she did was irrational behavior. And fear was spread by other people on campus who were all acting irrationally, spread all over the place. And I was like, when I walk around campus, one thing that I notice is that the women just never smile. The women on campus, the girls on campus, never smile. And I'm smiling. I'm a happy person. I thought that these girls were the saddest people in the world. There's a big problem when people are creating division between two genders based on something that is not true, that is fake fear, fake news, false. Nothing happened. There was no event. The campus was safe. Forgot what else I wanted to talk about. It was going to take me a while. I didn't write it down as the reason why. There were other things that I wanted to talk about. Okay. The topic was rape. There are women, and I've met many women who've said this. They said, women are raped on average once in their life. That is highly offensive. For that to be true, that would mean that on average, every man rapes a woman once in his life. If you believe that, you are screwed up. You are mentally ill. I wanted to say other words, but I'm refraining. You are mentally ill if you believe that. There is no such thing that men, the majority of men, etc., are rapists. It's absolutely not true. There is no such thing that women will be raped an average of once in her life, or that there's a guy who goes out raping thousands of women to make up for the guys that don't do it. It's just absolute nonsense. I lived in New York City for 7 years. And I lived in Long Island for 7 years. And in Long Island, you get the New York City news. You won't get it in upstate New York, in Ithaca, for example. And in all that time that I lived there, there was one time when there was news of a person who had raped someone. And there's 10 million people in New York City. Okay? One time there's a news story that says a guy raped somebody, a guy raped a woman. It's like, 1 out of 10 million over the course of 7 years is not a rape epidemic. It counters the belief that every woman is going to be raped on average once in her life. Just absolute nonsense. What part of her life does this happen? It counters the belief that the men are perpetrating this. And they must have caught the guy. And it was something that happened outside. So women have irrational views about rape. They believe that everybody's a rapist and they're all going to get raped, and it's just not true. And it ruins relationships between men and women. It breaks trust. I lived in Ithaca. I was at Cornell University, and I was with some university students at a party, and there was a woman. She was the most beautiful woman there, and she was very, very pretty, and she was sitting on the floor. The rest of us were sitting down, and she was going on and on and on about rape. And she was saying, she was talking about the people who recapture the night, and I don't remember what, Take Back the Night, I think it's called. And I had seen them walking through the city yelling and screaming, "Take back the night," clapping their hands. I wonder if they succeeded at taking back the night. I don't think they did. So this woman just went on and on about rape and rape and rape and rape and rape and rape and rape. And I was like, this is a party, and I came here because my friend said we're going to have fun. And I really don't want to hear you talking about how men are raping women all the time, especially considering you haven't named one person who's raped someone or one person who was a victim of rape. You're just making presumptions that women in general are victims and then men in general are danger, and I don't believe it's true. I've known lots of women. I only knew one woman that has ever told me that she was raped, and honestly, I don't believe it, because this woman was a big enough woman that she could beat the crap out of any guy that goes near her. I do not believe, and she was a person who said things that didn't make sense frequently. Maybe it did happen. I don't think it's possible. And she was not a woman that would be of desire to men. She was obese. She was an obese woman, and one day I was using my computer. She had a reputation for something, and I knew she walked in the room because I could smell something had changed. And I turned around, and there she was. She had a reputation for smelling, and I could not smell. I had no sense of smell when I was younger. So this woman was not someone that men would desire. She doesn't fit the profile, but she was the only person who did say that. She said, she came up to me and said, "I was raped." And I was like, "Why are you telling me this? You just out of the blue go up to somebody and say that? Come on." There are women who, okay, there was one woman who wrote her story about how when she was younger, she was in fear and she was always scared of men. And she said now that she's older, she said, "You know what? Those men are just other people walking down the street." And she realized that she was never in danger of walking down the street. She was never in danger of men. She realized that she had been brainwashed by the news media, or maybe by feminism, or by her friends, or whatever, into believing that there was an epidemic of danger against women that did not exist. New York City has a reputation for being dangerous, but at the time that I lived there, it was like number 200 on the list of cities for crime. It was a safe city. And I saw once I saw a bunch of police officers running down the street, like 7 police officers running down the street, looking out the window. And there was another time I saw a shop owner leave his shop, point his gun up the street, and fire. I don't know what he was shooting at, presumably someone who had ran out of his store. Those are the only 2 times I remember seeing a crime 7 years in Manhattan. I always felt safe on my street, but my street happened to be a very safe street. I was lucky. It was very quiet. I sat out there once. I got locked out of the apartment. Sat out there for 6 hours in the daytime. Nobody came through the doors. It was a very quiet street. I'm going to tell you a rape story. This is a true story. I want you to imagine that someone offers to give you a massage. This is basic. I'm going to give you the gist of what happened. These 2 people somehow met on the internet. Must have been a dating website. And one of them said, "Hey, do you mind if I come over to your place?" And they both met at the apartment. And then the person said, "I'm going to give you a massage. Get on the bed." And then she said, okay, so I'm giving it away, aren't I? Okay, since I already gave it away, I'm just going to continue. She said, "Don't lie down on the bed that way. Put your feet against the wall, the head of the bed, and your head on the other side." He said, "Oh, take your clothes off, take your shirt off, whatever." And I left my underwear on. And I lied down on the bed. Okay, I guess I'm going to get a massage. And she was taking her time. Time was passing. She was taking her clothes off, and I didn't know this. And she was not a small girl. She was a big girl. I wouldn't say that she was fat, but she was a tall woman. And she got on top of me real fast, and she removed my clothing, and she took her hand like this, and she had clothes on, and she moved it to the side, and against my will, she started to engage in vaginal sex. And I told her, "Get off me," and she did. And I gave the excuse, no condom, no sex. And I knew that there was no condom. She said she didn't have a condom, and I said, "Please leave," and she left. So I have been raped. Fact. That's a true story. It happened when I was in Medellin, Colombia. I was probably, 39, 40 years old, something like that. That is the definition of a rape, and it happened to me. And I was naive at the time. I was a trusting person. I'm still a trusting person. I would still invite a strange woman who I'd never met before, over to my house again. But now I've learned that when they say, "We're going to give you a massage," they're always, I get emails every day from women saying, "I'm going to give you a massage." I get it all the time. Trust me, it's out there. They do this. When I do this, I don't speak to them ever again. Okay, so I guess that's everything that I wanted to say. I'm going to talk about the Christopher Columbus story, even though it's in another video. So people say that Christopher Columbus is a rapist. The accusation is false. There is not evidence that Christopher Columbus is a rapist. If you look at what he did, was he kept a journal, and based on what he wrote in his journal, people call him a rapist. However, they are making presumptions that are not supported by what is written in the journal. The journal doesn't have a lot of detail, but he says he was in, I guess, the cabin of his ship, and he was with a native woman, and maybe she was a younger woman, maybe she was beautiful, I don't remember. You can go and read his journal entry, read what it says, make your own decision. The journal said, okay, so this woman was here. He said she resisted at first, but then she happily went along with it and she enjoyed it. And I don't even remember if he said that he had sex with her. I don't even remember. But the problem is, people say he's a rapist, but it doesn't say what the resistance was. It doesn't say when the resistance was. It doesn't say if this happened during sex or not during sex. It could have been that he tried to give her a kiss on the cheek and she resisted. That's not a rape. It said the other issue is that if someone agrees to have intercourse and then changes her mind, it's believed that that is a rape because she ended on the decision that she was against it. But if she begins on the condition that she's against it, but then she ends where she's for it, is that a rape? Because it can't be, because then the other thing would be logically wrong. If you're looking at what happens in the end, which is what women say, well, in the end, she agreed to it. And that's what it says in the journal. It says that she went along and she was happy about what was going on. The other issue is we don't know if this woman had ever had sex before. If she didn't, she might not really know what it is, and she might not have known what was going to happen. So by her resisting, she might have thought that she was going to kill her. We don't know. There's not enough information there to say this guy is a rapist. All we know is that he had intercourse with this girl and that she resisted his advances at first, and that's all we know. Not sufficient. For example, if he's fully clothed and she's fully clothed and he grabs her arm, there's nothing sexual about that whatsoever. It cannot be called a rape at that point. It's grabbing someone's arm is not rape. There has to be something sexual about it for it to be rape. So we don't know. The details are not in the journal. And anyone that says Christopher Columbus is a rapist is saying it because they're just saying what they heard on TV or what they heard some feminists say. It's fake news. So don't believe this stuff.